evening, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Global Women in Leadership Conversation Series. I am Aparna G. Kumar, the Global Chairperson for Women Entrepreneurship and Empowerment of GCPIT, and your host for the evening. Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in COVID-19 World. This is the theme for International Women's Day 2021. Global Council for the Promotion of International Trade, GCPIT, has started this global conversation series with women achievers and leaders to understand their journey, to learn from their experiences, and also to pave the way for more women leaders to join the wagon to create a sustainable change in the society, equality, diversity, and inclusion. We have a very special guest with us today to talk about her journey. She is considered a thought leader in pioneering technology, passionate about humanity, technology, economics, and dance. Besides the 20 years of experience in technology, she holds added knowledge in the fields of psychology and artificial intelligence. Yes, all things AI. She is an AI ethics mentor and driver of Africa's artificial intelligence potential missions to create meaningful, innovative solutions to help shape the African continent. Huge support of technology for good in underdeveloped countries. Her specialization, besides being a podcast guest, is in emerging technology spaces, including agri-tech, fintech, health tech, law tech, retail tech, and growing. She aims to educate, inspire, drive AI innovations across Africa. She is now one of GCPIT's 100 chosen global women leaders, and also the winner of She Trades Global Leadership Awards 2021. Very proudly welcome Miss Lavina Ramkissoon to the show. Welcome, Miss Lavina.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here.
Yes, that was an amazing profile, and we are always excited to have you with us. We are proud to have you in our Women in Leadership Conversation series as well. Tell me, Lavina, where did this all begin? Your leadership journey.
Wow. I think, where does one start? Is it on the home front? Is it with family? Or is it actually in the workplace? But I guess I've been really fortunate with having had good exposure within the technology sector from a very, very young age. So a good 20 years ago. And that for me, helped shape a lot of, my leadership styles for today.
Yes. As we all know, AI is currently revolutionizing processes and rates of productivity across multiple industries. Millions of jobs, women's jobs mainly, globally are at risk of displacement. What steps do you think we need to take to upskill women in this area and make AI a more welcoming environment for women?
Yeah, that's quite an interesting one. I think, it's very much a multidisciplinary, multifactored, and multi-technology sort of phase that we're in. And I think that there's a lot we can do. There's a lot we can do from an individual perspective, from a corporate, from a community, as well as from a governmental perspective. And it could be from simple conversations in terms of uplifting and educating women around us, in terms of what is there, providing the good kind of resources or pointing them into the directions of where there are good resources, and also creating opportunity for them to then showcase their talents. That is a sector that is definitely also required.
Yes, and there remains a perception among 52% of women that technology is a male industry, while almost 32% believe gender bias is still a major hurdle in the recruitment process. Do you think there is an urgent need to change perceptions around tech, and we need to do more to support and inspire women to enter the tech industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the whole gender sort of conversation has been one very profound and very common in the technology space. 20 years ago, when my journey began, it's no different to the inequalities and the unfairness that I experienced back then to what I experience now. The degrees may have changed from, societal rules of resistance, which is kind of normal. But I think, women need to politely correct people in terms of how they are referred and how they are treated when it comes to a business environment. We often find ourselves either in a position of being referred to or treated as a daughter, a granddaughter, or a confidant within the work environment rather than a business partner. So I think mindsets are definitely a huge role to play when it comes to that. And us women having the ability to be able to have a voice, to politely know when to draw the lines and to, help guide men and women alike in the space as to how we should be treated and how we should be defined.
Great. And when we are talking about leadership, I find you always bubbly, friendly, and very humble. So, what do you think? Being humble is one a trait of a great leader, or according to you, what are the three main traits of a great leader?
Wow, thanks for the compliment. That are essential in making large scale decisions that end up moving grand scales of economy, moving the world. And for me, there's a few sort of traits that I've come across in terms of good leaders. And that stems from, integrity to the ability to delegate, communication. Self-awareness has been pretty much, I think, on the top ranks for me. Gratitude, influencing, empathy, courage, and respect. And I think out of all of those, for me, the most that stand out is self-awareness and courage. Courage to be able to, have the voice, the courage to be able to be confident in your skills and your application. Self-aware, I think we don't pay enough contribute to self-awareness. And, the journey always begins with ourselves. That's a common phrase we've all heard. We probably didn't quite realize what our parents were trying to tell us back then. But self-awareness and that self-journey, I cannot stress how important that is.
Yes, and you were mentioning communication. So, how much important communication is in a journey towards global leadership, especially?
Global communication has been helped, if we want to call it, through this pandemic that's existing at the moment, in terms of people being more accepting to engage on digital platforms, people being able to, reach out and share ideas more openly. And I think those things definitely contribute to the bigger picture. However, I firmly believe that communication is all about, knocking on a door and having to just make that initial approach. So whether or not you get accepted or not is kind of irrelevant. I think if you have a clear vision and a clear understanding as to why you want to communicate or engage with somebody, it becomes fundamentally different. And then that message gets translated throughout. Yeah.
Okay, so you are an inspiration to many. I'm a huge fan of yours. But who inspired you and why?
Sorry, say the last bit of that question. I was being besotted by your compliment.
Yes. Who was your inspiration in your journey? That's what I was asking.
I see. Okay. So inspiration, I think, comes from, lots of different areas. For me in particular, I've kind of found it on a home front, on a spiritual front, both just even inspiration from myself, inspiration from normal, ordinary folk that are around. But I think if I had to give a few different slogans to it, it would be those that have been fearless humans. For me, that is an encompassment of, the courage that I spoke about earlier. It also helps us to see the beauty in everything around us, right? And that in itself, we get naturally inspired. I think, from the great philosophers to technologists to the greatest influences that have been around, there are so many out there. And, I guess if I can refer to my dad, he's often taught me, go into any environment and make sure you learn one specific thing that you can then enhance yourself with. So I cannot say that there is just one major influencer, from that. Even my twin girls, they have been, as young as the age of 12, they have been a huge inspiration in terms of, just what young people have and they can accomplish, small ideas that turn out to have large, greater impacts. We have other activists that have been around. We've had politicians, we've had people from all different races, all different shapes, all different, backgrounds, and they all come with such an inspirational story. And it's about being able to connect with them, and resonating on some level to their message that they're trying to deliver. And I think when you have the ability to resonate with someone, then that becomes key, not only to your own self-development, but also in terms of their leadership, because then you found exactly what value they can add.
And what advice would you like to give to the next generation of female leaders?
Wow. Okay, this is quite an interesting one. I've had to ponder about this question a few times because there's so much, right? There's so many shortcuts that we wish to, give the next generation so that they can avoid all of the pitfalls that we have, right? But unfortunately, we don't have all day. So I think, one of the main things for me has been about being bold, proactively, just be you, right? Make a conscious choice every day to be your most authentic self. And that comes with a whole lot of different attributes to it, right? Like, for example, being authentic doesn't mean waiting to be seen. Go out there and show up and be seen, be heard, have the voice, empower others to have the voice, empower, people to have those clear visions that we spoke about. I remember there was a study that was done around the traits between female and male leaders. And it was interesting that the female leaders actually possessed the same traits as male counterparts, right? Which included your vision, your perseverance, your empathy, your passion. So I think, from a gender perspective, there probably isn't much that differentiates us. But I think, however, women have that cutting edge ability to see the bigger picture, to drive communities based on the fact of, motherhood. All of this comes from a point of wanting to make a difference. And so be fearless humans and be authentic would be my sort of synopsis to them.
Okay, so while we were talking about male leaders, have you ever experienced resistance while you were leading men? I am sure you are leading and interacting with men in your field. So
yeah, and it's quite interesting because I've had that from day one, right? Being in the tech sector 20 years ago, there were very, very few females in the space. And, I think resistance comes in many shapes and many forms. However, it is important, again, to be heard and to be able to have the confidence to break these societal rules. So, 20 years ago, when I was being asked to take minutes or, go and make everyone in the team a cup of coffee, irrespective of me being qualified equally or even more qualified than people around, it's about how do we then navigate through that space, in a very eloquent fashion. And I think, we've had those societal rules of resistance that we need to break. We need to be able to say, this is who I am, and start inculcating the culture or the thought process for men, and equally so women in the workspace, that this is the new line of thinking that is all about our skills. It's all about what we're bringing to the party. It's no longer about, us being a specific gender, or previously us being a specific race or a specific caste. It's got absolutely nothing to do with any of that anymore. These days, it's all about showing up and making sure that people acknowledge you for you. And that means accepting your skill sets, accepting you for your thoughts, your visions, your outlays. And I think us being bold enough to be able to do that is going to be key.
And what do you think, so which steps like organizations can take towards creating an inclusive culture?
Yeah, I think, a cultural mindset is so important. Cultural emulation has been definitely something that is on the top of most people's minds. However, I think, it starts with small things, right? So, at one stage, I know I had a long debate with a friend of mine around putting on my CV, for example, I took time off to embrace motherhood, is what I wrote, right? And it was a big debate in terms of, do you actually put it in there or don't you, right? Is it actually looked down upon, or is it actually looked or accepted with a bit of courage, right? And appreciation from where you're coming. So, being able to have those different mindsets and changing it all starts with ourselves. And I guess, this modern perception that we have, where women has to do everything and we have to do it always 100% of time, and we have to be absolutely perfect at what we do, right? We've got to be the great mothers, we've got to be the great leaders, we've got to be the great wives, we've got to be the great daughters, and the list goes on. And for us, it's not about that. We're human, right? We may be spiritual first, or have some sort of spiritual drive first, but it's about just showing up and understanding that you have the ability to shape culture, to shape mindsets. Culture is always about massive groups of people that start to influence mindsets, and that's as simple as what cultural influences or emulation is all about.
Yes, talking to you is always amazing, but the time is.
Yes.
Let me get into the last two questions. How do you feel being in the list of 100 women leaders?
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. It's such a great honor to have to be part of this process, and for you guys to actually take the time to acknowledge women in this space. I think that in itself is so phenomenal. And, if it was me, I would probably give every woman out there an award, because I just simply cannot decipher one from the other. I think, each person is on their own journey path, and they each equally have contributed in some shape, manner, or form, completely. So thank you again.
Congratulations, Lavina. And we are celebrating the Global Women in Trade Summit 2021 on March 5th, 6th, and 7th, where women entrepreneurs and leaders will be coming to explore the next level of growth. And on March 8th, on International Day, 100 amazing women will receive the Global Women in Business Awards 2021. What message would you like to give for Global Women in Trade Summit 2021?
Wow. Yeah, global trade is definitely changing. Let's sort of create a good network amongst us women, and showcase how we can actually radically change digital transformation and digital trade, eradicating all of the unfairness, inequalities that probably exist in society.
Congratulations once again, Lavina. It was great to have you with us today, and I really enjoyed the conversation with you. Wish you all the best for your future projects as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, dear audience, for being with us till now. We'll be back with another powerful global woman leader. Stay tuned. If you think you are an elite performer and looking for exponential leadership, join us. For all the information, visit gcpit.org. I am Aparna G. Kumar signing off. Stay safe. and good night.